Now it's time for Perform Like a Pro, sponsored by The Wall.
Hey guys, today we're gonna build a waterproof patio cover. This is a space that I built a few years ago, kind of rebuilt it, and it hasn't been used because it's just too messy out here. So we're gonna put a cover up, and this is gonna be a little bit of a project only because it's waterproof, so it's not like your traditional sail, which means the wind's gonna grab it when it blows. So we gotta build this sturdy today. So let's get after it. All right, I need a post out here to support this because we're gonna string this up, and I don't wanna have to go all the way out to a tree or something. And the problem is tying these off to a tree in a windstorm, they can move and you can overtension and rip stuff off the house. So it doesn't work very well. So jump to Online Metals, got a post, rattle canned it up and actually put on a nice coat of primer on there over the bare metal and then a coat of matte black so it kind of matches the house. Next up, I'm gonna drill some holes in this so I can fasten it to the outside of my railing because that's where I need distance-wise for it to be. Then we'll hang the brackets and I'll get this up there and we'll start hanging the sail up. So first, time to drill some holes. All right, the secret to this is having a really good drill bit that's made to cut through structural steel like this. And second, take your time. If this actually hammers out and torques, it'll rip the drill out of your hands and you can get hurt. So be careful with this. All right guys, so I've got one hole drilled. I'm gonna do two more. That way this is in there nice and tight and sturdy because I don't want this to move around, especially when we get those big winds around here. So two more holes and we'll mount the hardware and we'll be halfway there. All right guys, one more little tip when you're drilling through thick metal like this, listen, because you'll hear it change just right before you actually push through the metal. So that way you can back off the drill a little bit. You'll hear the tone change of it. When you hear it, you're almost there. So lighten up on it so it doesn't bind up. All right, I jumped online and bought one of these little kits. Helps me get the hardware and they're really easy. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pre-drill this and use some self-tapping screws that I can put right into here. So that way we can tie this off. And I like this because I can tension it and it's got a ratchet to it. So it's gonna hold it up there. So much better than tying off when I can use a cable and something mechanical like this to hold it together. So a few more holes, a couple screws, we got it. All right, got some self-tapping screws. I pre-drilled them, it's just easier. You don't have to sit there and fight this. It always goes faster when you use a drill bit. Let's get these locked in. All right guys, we got that in here now. So I'm gonna flip this over here. We're gonna be going into over here with that. So I'm gonna come in here and get this set first because I wanna make sure and get this as tight as I can here and have it preset. So when I get it up there, I can just drive it right into the wood. This always has to go into the framing. Otherwise, if it's into like siding or just a panel, you gotta grab the studs for strength. That way it holds it all together. All right guys, to help me hold this, I'm gonna actually set some clamps on this. So when I set it over here, I've got kind of an extra hand. So I'm gonna set some of these clamps right here. All right, the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lift this up over the edge and drive the screw in. And that way I can start worrying about getting level. I'm gonna get the first one in, so then I can kind of swing it and get it where I need to be. So this is kind of the hardest part of this whole journey. Let's get this thing installed. This is where a magnetic level is really nice. There's not much I can do this way, just because this is a big steel post, so it's into the side of this. That's gonna be as good as I can get there. That is dead on right there, so that'll work for me. All right guys, so I'm gonna screw this to the house on the one side because I want that sealed up nice and tight. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start this out so I don't fight it. I'm actually gonna staple the webbing right to the side of this 2x4. So I'm gonna actually wrap this around. You'll see what I'm doing here in a second. This will make a lot more sense. Let's get the stapler out. You know, one of the biggest tricks with home improvement is trying to plan ahead so you do things when it's easier. Last thing I want to be doing is tackling a bunch of stuff overhead. So the more you can do on the ground, the safer it is, and it's a lot easier on your body, which makes for a better project when you're all said and done. All right, part of the planning of this is making sure you're directing water where you want it to go, because I wanted to have a slope. My drain is actually in the floor over here, so I'm directing that water to it, so that way you don't have water where it's not supposed to go. All right, the last thing we're gonna do here is fasten this to the house. I've got another bracket. And the reason why I'm going into these corners like this is that's where all the framing is. The strength is in these corners, so you can always grab a stud there. So that's the secret to using that. And I'm not using the little screws they give in the kit. I'm using some big structural ones. That way I know it holds. All right, guys, now I'm gonna string it up on this so I can get back and work on that other side and get that dialed in into the studs. So here's the thing we're gonna do. So we start out with the cable here, and I've got this really cool eyelet. I'm gonna cut this back because I don't need about 10 feet of cable right here. So I'm gonna cut this off right here with some snips. That way I've got some space to work and I'm not fighting a big long cable. I'll go ahead and just tighten this up a little bit here. Get some tension on this, which is what that's gonna do for me right now. All right, now I can get this other side fastened in and dialed in, little tension, and we're done. Let's get it finished. All right, guys, another little tip here is to look for these little nail holes. I see a series of them right here. That means I got a stud right there. That's the gap for the siding where that came together. So that means I can go in right here and make sure that I've got the stud. Now go in here really slow, because I don't want that to happen or I do a big shred. So I'm just kind of trying to go in here. I went backwards. That's not going anywhere. All right, I want to get one more screw in up here so I can grab the stud so we've got the strength. All right, that's locked in. Last step, let's get this thing tensioned up, and I got a nice patio cover. Okay, that's about it. All right, guys, and that's how you create a patio cover. It's about 250 bucks, pretty easy, and I know it's a project you can tackle.